A woman demanded a full refund from a plumber because the pipe he fixed stopped leaking. Another tried to charge the electrician for emotional distress caused by a breaker panel. And somehow, these are the reasonable ones. Now, trust me, we're just getting started. 1. A sharply dressed suburban homeowner in Texas called a plumbing company 3 days after a routine pipe repair. The plumber had replaced a cracked section of pipe under her kitchen sink. Everything worked perfectly. No leaks, no smell, no water damage. That was the problem. She insisted the repair was suspiciously fast and claimed a job that simple could not possibly justify the invoice. The technician calmly explained that efficiency is generally considered a positive outcome and that the repair required skill, tools, and experience. She stared at him as if he had personally insulted her intelligence. She then argued that she should only pay for the time she visually observed the plumber working, not the training required to do it quickly. When the office manager repeated the company's pricing structure, she accused them of deliberately hiding the difficulty level to overcharge customers. She threatened to contact the Better Business Bureau and leave a detailed review explaining how the company profits from unnecessarily competent plumbers. Apparently, fixing the problem too well was now suspicious. 2. A meticulously organized homeowner in Arizona scheduled an electrician to replace several outdated outlets in her living room. The technician arrived on time, installed modern grounded outlets, tested each one, and confirmed they were functioning safely. The woman watched the entire process from her couch with narrowed eyes. Once the electrician finished, she plugged in her antique lamp and frowned. She insisted the outlet felt different. Not broken, just different. The electrician politely explained that modern outlets grip plugs more firmly for safety reasons. She rejected that explanation instantly. She claimed the tighter grip made it emotionally stressful to unplug devices and suggested the electrician should loosen them slightly. He paused and calmly explained that altering safety features would violate electrical code. She became increasingly offended and insisted she had owned outlets her entire life and knew how they were supposed to feel. When he refused to modify them, she demanded a partial refund for installing outlets that were too aggressive. She later called the company to report that the outlets were hostile to normal household use. 3. A wealthy traveler who recently bought a vacation home in Florida called a pest control company after spotting 2 ants near her kitchen window. The technician arrived and performed a standard inspection. He calmly explained that seeing a couple ants occasionally is normal in a warm climate and recommended a routine preventative treatment. The woman folded her arms and informed him that when she purchased the house, the real estate agent described the area as peaceful. In her mind, insects clearly violated that description. The technician blinked slowly and explained that pest control reduces infestations but cannot eliminate all insects outdoors. She interpreted that as a refusal to do the job properly. She demanded a guarantee that no ants would ever appear again. When the technician explained that nature does not operate on lifetime guarantees, she accused the company of misleading advertising. She threatened to post photos of the 2 ants online with a caption about failed pest management. According to her, paying for pest control should apparently rewrite the entire ecosystem around her property. 4. A very serious homeowner in Illinois hired a landscaping company to trim several trees that had grown unevenly along her driveway. The crew arrived, carefully pruned the branches, and cleaned every leaf from the yard. When the supervisor presented the finished work, she studied the trees for several silent seconds. Then she announced that the trees looked less majestic. The supervisor politely explained that trimming improves tree health and prevents branches from damaging the roof. She waved that explanation away. Her concern was aesthetic balance. She believed the crew had altered the personality of the trees. The supervisor paused and tried again, explaining that trimming removes excess growth but does not change a tree's personality. That only made her more annoyed. She insisted the trees used to look more confident before the trimming. She demanded a discount for visual disappointment. When the supervisor declined, she warned that she would leave a review explaining how the company had emotionally diminished the natural character of her landscaping. 5. A retired homeowner in New Jersey scheduled an appliance repair technician to fix a washing machine that had stopped draining properly. The technician diagnosed a clogged pump, cleared the obstruction, and ran a full test cycle. The machine worked perfectly again. The homeowner watched the test cycle with growing suspicion. When the machine finished quietly, she asked why it seemed calmer than before. The technician explained that the previous clog likely caused strain and noise during operation. She frowned and insisted she was used to hearing the machine more aggressively during the spin cycle. He reassured her that quieter operation usually indicates the appliance is functioning correctly. She shook her head and claimed the washing machine now felt too relaxed. She worried it might not be cleaning clothes with enough intensity. The technician offered to demonstrate the spin cycle again. She refused and demanded a partial refund because the repair had changed the washing machine's personality. According to her, appliances should maintain consistent emotional energy. 6. A demanding homeowner in California hired movers to relocate furniture from her living room to a newly renovated space upstairs. The crew carefully wrapped each item and carried everything through the house without a scratch. Once the furniture was placed exactly where she requested, she walked slowly around the room inspecting everything. Then she pointed at the couch and said it felt slightly repositioned compared to how it looked in her imagination. The lead mover calmly explained that they placed it precisely according to her instructions and even measured the spacing from the wall. She insisted that measurements were irrelevant because the couch felt different in the room's energy. The mover paused, clearly unsure how to respond to furniture energy. She then argued that movers should understand interior balance and offered a long explanation about visual flow. When the crew declined to rearrange the entire room again for free, she threatened to report them for careless placement and claimed they lacked the artistic sensitivity required for professional moving services. 7. A proud homeowner in Georgia called an internet service technician after experiencing slower speeds in the evening. The technician tested the connection and explained that the line was working perfectly. He also explained that speeds can fluctuate during peak neighborhood usage. She listened with visible irritation and said that explanation made no sense because she personally pays for fast internet. The technician calmly explained that residential service is shared infrastructure. She rejected that idea immediately. In her mind, paying for high speed meant her connection should be immune to other people using the network. She accused the company of secretly distributing her bandwidth to neighbors. When he tried explaining network traffic again, she leaned forward and said she would not tolerate digital freeloaders stealing her signal. She demanded the technician install something that prevents nearby homes from using the internet at the same time she does. Apparently, the concept of shared infrastructure was an unacceptable social arrangement. 8. A self-described home improvement expert in Colorado hired an electrician to install recessed lighting in her kitchen. The electrician carefully installed each light according to the design plan she approved. When the lights were turned on, the room looked bright and evenly lit. She stared up at the ceiling with a puzzled expression. Then she explained that the lighting felt too professional. The electrician asked what she meant. She said it looked like something from a showroom rather than a comfortable home. He politely reminded her that she requested evenly spaced recessed lighting for maximum brightness. She acknowledged that, but insisted the final result made the kitchen look intimidating to guests. She believed lighting should be slightly imperfect to feel welcoming. When the electrician offered to install dimmers, she rejected the idea and argued the company should have predicted her emotional reaction. She demanded compensation for installing lighting that made her kitchen look too successful. 9. A cautious homeowner in Michigan called a plumber after noticing a faint drip in her basement pipe. The plumber located the problem and replaced a worn connector. The leak stopped immediately. He wiped the area dry and confirmed everything was sealed. She watched the repair with growing skepticism. Then she asked how long the fix would last. The plumber explained that the connector should last many years under normal conditions. She frowned and asked for something more permanent. He paused and explained that plumbing components eventually wear out over time. She rejected that answer and insisted that if she was paying for a repair, it should last forever. When he clarified that no plumbing system lasts indefinitely, she accused the company of selling temporary solutions. She demanded a warranty guaranteeing the pipe would never leak again. According to her reasoning, paying for a repair should permanently eliminate the possibility of water ever behaving unpredictably. 10. A very particular homeowner in Washington hired a cable technician to reinstall a television connection after renovating her living room. The technician mounted the cable line neatly along the baseboard and tested the signal. Everything worked perfectly. The homeowner stood silently examining the cable path for several seconds. Then she pointed at the line and said it looked too straight. The technician blinked and asked what she meant. She explained that interior lines should appear more natural rather than aggressively geometric. He calmly explained that straight lines are generally considered professional installation. She shook her head, and he insisted it looked unnatural next to the wall molding. She suggested the technician create a slightly curved cable path to soften the look. He politely explained that cables should follow the wall to prevent damage. She accused the company of ignoring aesthetic considerations and threatened to write a review warning customers about technicians who prioritize efficiency over visual harmony. 11. A wellness influencer in Oregon called a furnace repair technician during winter because her heating system sounded slightly different after maintenance. The technician inspected the furnace and confirmed it was operating safely and efficiently. She stood nearby filming short clips for social media while asking him if the airflow felt aggressive. He explained that improved airflow is normal after cleaning the system. She shook her head and said the house previously had a softer heating atmosphere. According to her, airflow carries emotional energy, and harsh airflow can disrupt relaxation. The technician blinked slowly and repeated that the furnace was simply circulating warm air as designed. She insisted the airflow had a mechanical attitude. When he offered to adjust the fan setting, she demanded a refund because the repair had allegedly changed the emotional climate of the home. She then warned him she might post a video about how traditional HVAC systems ignore holistic indoor wellness. 12. A fiercely organized homeowner in Virginia scheduled a handyman to repair a squeaky stair in her hallway. The repair took less than 30 minutes. The stair became completely silent. Instead of thanking him, she stood on the step repeatedly while listening carefully. Then she looked concerned. She explained that she used the squeak as a helpful signal whenever someone walked upstairs. Without the noise, she said the staircase now lacked useful warning cues. The handyman politely explained that the entire purpose of the repair was to eliminate the squeak. She admitted that, but argued the repair removed a practical household feature. When he offered to leave it as is, she demanded a partial refund for solving the problem too effectively. She said the company should have asked whether she wanted the squeak completely removed or just reduced to a socially responsible level. 13. A status-conscious homeowner in Connecticut hired a landscaping crew to install decorative stone around her garden beds. The crew carefully completed the project and arranged the stones evenly. She inspected the garden and immediately frowned. She claimed the stones looked too new. The crew leader explained that they were, in fact, new stones. That was the entire project. She said that was exactly the problem. She wanted the landscaping to appear established, not recently installed. The crew leader suggested that weather and time would naturally soften the appearance. She rejected that timeline. She insisted that professional landscapers should be able to create the impression of several years of aging immediately. When the crew declined to artificially damage the stones, she accused them of lacking creative vision and threatened to leave a review explaining that the company specializes in landscaping that looks suspiciously recent. 14. A deeply skeptical homeowner in Nevada called an appliance repair technician for a refrigerator that had stopped cooling properly. The technician replaced a faulty thermostat and restored normal temperature within an hour. The homeowner watched the entire process silently. Once the refrigerator cooled again, she opened the door and studied the interior shelves. Then she said the fridge now felt colder than before. The technician explained that refrigerators are supposed to maintain a specific cold range for food safety. She nodded, but insisted that her previous fridge temperature had a more comfortable atmosphere. He tried explaining that food safety guidelines require colder temperatures. She responded by accusing the repair company of exaggerating safety risks to justify expensive parts. She demanded proof that milk truly requires that level of coldness. When the technician pointed to standard food safety recommendations, she accused him of participating in a refrigeration industry narrative. 15. A meticulous homeowner in North Carolina hired a moving company to transport a large bookshelf from the garage to her home office. The movers wrapped the bookshelf and carried it inside carefully. When they placed it against the wall, she stepped back and frowned. She said the bookshelf felt taller than before. The lead mover calmly explained that the shelf had not changed size. It was simply in a different room with different lighting. She disagreed and said the bookshelf now looked slightly more ambitious. He stared at the shelf for a moment and confirmed it appeared identical to when they picked it up. She insisted the new room made the shelf appear more imposing and suggested the movers had altered its posture during transport. When the crew refused to reposition it repeatedly to satisfy the visual effect, she threatened to report them for mishandling furniture in a way that changes its perceived personality. 16. A suburban homeowner in Ohio hired a plumbing company to replace an old outdoor faucet. The technician installed the new fixture quickly and tested the water flow. It worked perfectly. She turned the handle once and frowned. She said the water pressure felt enthusiastic. The plumber explained that the previous faucet was partially clogged and the new one allows full flow. She folded her arms and said she preferred the gentler pressure from before. He offered to install a pressure regulator attachment. She rejected the idea and said the company should have asked whether she wanted the water to feel confident. When he explained that faucets normally deliver standard pressure, she accused the company of imposing aggressive plumbing solutions on peaceful households. She demanded a refund for installing a faucet that dispenses water with what she described as unnecessary enthusiasm. 17. A very confident homeowner in Pennsylvania called a pest control service after hearing scratching sounds in her attic. The technician inspected the space and discovered a small squirrel had entered through a loose vent cover. He explained that he would safely remove the animal and secure the vent to prevent future entry. She immediately objected. She said removing the squirrel might upset the animal's routine. The technician paused and explained that wildlife should not live inside residential attics. She disagreed and said the squirrel had probably grown comfortable there. She suggested the technician instead politely encourage it to relocate on its own schedule. He explained that wildlife removal requires active relocation. She accused the company of lacking empathy for attic residents and warned that forcing the squirrel to leave could create emotional distress for the animal. Apparently, the attic had quietly become protected wildlife housing. 18. A sharply organized homeowners association president in Florida called an electrician to replace a faulty outdoor light fixture at the entrance of her gated community. The electrician installed a modern LED fixture that was brighter and more energy efficient. When the light switched on, the entrance was clearly illuminated for the first time in years. She immediately frowned. She claimed the light was too revealing and made the landscaping look less exclusive at night. The electrician calmly explained that the fixture met safety guidelines and improved visibility for residents and drivers. She folded her arms and said safety was not the main concern. The community had a carefully curated nighttime atmosphere. She insisted the new light disrupted the prestige of the entrance. When the electrician said the fixture matched the approved work order, she began filming him on her phone. She warned that she would send the video to corporate and demand compensation for installing lighting that damaged the luxury brand of the neighborhood. Apparently, illumination now required brand consultation. 19. A high-strung homeowner in California scheduled an internet technician because her connection slowed briefly during a video meeting. The technician tested the line and confirmed the signal strength was excellent. He explained that occasional slowdowns happen during peak traffic hours. She leaned forward with visible irritation and said she runs an online lifestyle brand and cannot afford technological inconsistency. The technician calmly suggested upgrading to a higher bandwidth plan if she regularly hosts large meetings. She rejected the suggestion instantly. She insisted the company should automatically prioritize her connection because she works from home. When he explained that residential networks do not assign personal priority lanes, she began recording him with her phone. She announced that she would post the video online to expose how internet companies ignore the needs of working mothers with digital businesses. She demanded a free service upgrade because the slowdown had allegedly damaged her professional reputation during a meeting that lasted 9 minutes. 20. A wealthy vacation homeowner in South Carolina called a landscaping company 2 weeks after they installed new sod in her backyard. The lawn looked healthy and green. The landscaper arrived expecting routine follow-up questions. Instead, she stood on the patio with a printed folder of photographs. She pointed to one section of grass and claimed the lawn looked less vibrant in morning light compared to the installation day. The landscaper explained that sod requires watering and natural growth time to fully settle. She interrupted him and insisted she had followed every instruction. Then she suggested the sod supplier might have delivered grass that lacked the same visual enthusiasm. The landscaper patiently explained that natural grass changes appearance depending on sunlight and moisture. She shook her head and said she did not purchase landscaping to experience seasonal uncertainty. When he declined to replace the lawn for free, she threatened to leave reviews warning others that the company sells grass that loses confidence within 2 weeks. 21. A detail-obsessed homeowner in New York hired movers to transport several antique cabinets into her renovated dining room. The crew carefully wrapped each piece and positioned them exactly where she requested. Once the cabinets were placed, she walked around the room slowly with a measuring tape. Then she announced that the cabinets felt slightly misaligned with the emotional symmetry of the room. The lead mover calmly pointed out that the cabinets were placed precisely according to her measurements. She disagreed and claimed measurements cannot capture visual harmony. She insisted the movers should have instinctively recognized the imbalance. When the crew declined to rearrange the entire room for the third time without additional payment, she raised her voice and said she would report them for negligence. She began taking photos of the cabinets from several angles while narrating the situation for what she called documentation for consumer protection. Apparently, the cabinets had violated interior design philosophy. 22. A self-declared home improvement expert in Texas called a plumbing company after a technician replaced a clogged bathroom drain. The water now flowed smoothly. Instead of being satisfied, she claimed the drain sounded different. The plumber explained that the previous clog caused gurgling, and the new pipe connector allowed proper airflow. She stared at the sink and said the quieter sound made her uneasy. She said the old noise had provided a comforting signal that water was moving through the system. The plumber politely repeated that silent drainage is usually the goal. She insisted the repair had altered the character of the bathroom. When he explained that reversing the repair would restore the clog, she accused the company of dismissing customer experience. She demanded a refund and threatened to contact corporate headquarters about technicians who ignore the emotional expectations attached to household plumbing. 23. A very confident suburban homeowner in Colorado scheduled a cable technician to install a wall-mounted television connection. The technician completed the installation neatly and tested the signal. The television displayed perfectly. She studied the wall for a long moment and then announced the cable line was too discreet. The technician blinked and asked what she meant. She explained that guests should be able to tell that the television was professionally installed. According to her, hiding the cable entirely made the setup look ordinary. The technician calmly explained that most customers prefer concealed wiring. She rejected that reasoning and said she paid for installation that should look impressive. When he refused to reroute the cable visibly across the wall, she threatened to leave reviews claiming the company erases evidence of professional work. Apparently, subtle installation had become a branding problem. 24. A stressed homeowner in Illinois hired a furnace repair technician after noticing her heating system turned on more frequently during a cold week. The technician inspected the system and confirmed it was functioning normally and responding to colder outdoor temperatures. She listened carefully and then said that explanation felt dismissive. She believed the furnace was working harder than necessary because it sensed tension in the household. The technician paused and calmly explained that thermostats respond to temperature, not emotions. She frowned and insisted the increased cycling was clearly a reaction to stress. When he showed her the thermostat settings and outside temperature readings, she accused the company of oversimplifying environmental influences. She demanded a partial refund for failing to diagnose what she described as psychological strain in the heating system. The furnace apparently had developed feelings. 25. A suburban homeowner in Georgia called a pest control company after spotting a single spider near her garage door. The technician arrived, inspected the area, and explained that occasional spiders are common and even helpful because they reduce other insects. She stared at him with disbelief. She said the property listing described the home as a peaceful retreat. In her mind, spiders clearly contradicted that promise. The technician explained that pest control reduces infestations but cannot eliminate every insect outdoors. She raised her voice and said that sounded like an excuse. She began filming the spider and the technician simultaneously while narrating the situation for social media. She warned viewers that companies will happily charge for pest control without guaranteeing a spider-free environment. When the technician offered preventative treatment, she demanded a refund for the consultation because the company had refused to remove the concept of spiders from her property. 26. A perfection-focused homeowner in Washington hired a handyman to repair several loose cabinet hinges in her kitchen. The handyman tightened the hinges and aligned each door so they closed smoothly. She opened and closed the cabinet several times with visible suspicion. Then she claimed the doors now closed too quietly. The handyman explained that the hinges were adjusted correctly and the cabinets were working as intended. She shook her head and said the silence made the kitchen feel less active. The handyman blinked slowly and suggested that quiet cabinets are usually considered an improvement. She insisted the previous sound helped her keep track of family activity in the house. When he declined to deliberately loosen the hinges again, she threatened to leave a review stating that the handyman removes practical household feedback mechanisms without consulting the homeowner first. 27. A wealthy homeowner in Arizona called an appliance repair company after a technician replaced the compressor in her refrigerator. The repair restored normal cooling immediately. Instead of thanking him, she said the refrigerator now sounded too confident when it started its cooling cycle. The technician explained that a new compressor operates more efficiently and may produce a different startup sound. She crossed her arms and said the previous sound was gentler and more comforting. When he explained that the old compressor had failed, she accused the company of installing parts that change the personality of expensive appliances. She then asked if the repair could be reversed so the refrigerator would sound more familiar. When he declined, she said she would contact corporate and demand compensation for installing equipment that disrupts the emotional balance of her kitchen. 28. A very organized homeowner in Michigan hired movers to rearrange heavy furniture during a living room renovation. The movers carefully positioned everything exactly where she directed. After they finished, she stepped back and stared at the couch with visible concern. She said the couch now looked more dominant in the room than before. The lead mover calmly explained that the couch had not changed size and was simply placed in the new layout she requested. She insisted that the movers should have warned her that the couch might appear more confident in a larger space. When the crew declined to redo the entire arrangement without additional payment, she raised her voice and accused them of failing to provide professional guidance. She threatened to post photos online warning customers that the company moves furniture without considering emotional proportions. 29. A proud homeowner in Nevada called an electrician after her porch light flickered once during a windstorm. The electrician inspected the wiring and confirmed everything was secure and functioning normally. He explained that a brief flicker during a storm can happen due to power fluctuations in the grid. She listened with growing irritation and said that explanation felt suspiciously convenient. She believed reliable electricity should not react to weather. The electrician calmly explained that storms affect power lines across entire regions. She rejected that reasoning and said she pays her utility bill on time specifically to avoid unpredictable electricity. When he repeated that the wiring in her house was safe, she demanded documentation proving that the company was not responsible for unstable lighting behavior. She hinted that she might involve a lawyer if the porch light continued expressing what she called dramatic tendencies. 30. A suburban homeowner in Pennsylvania hired a landscaper to install decorative shrubs along her walkway. The shrubs were planted evenly and watered properly. A week later, she called the company in a frustrated tone. She claimed the shrubs looked less symmetrical than they did on installation day. The landscaper explained that plants naturally adjust after being transplanted and may shift slightly as they settle. She interrupted and said that sounded like a convenient excuse. According to her, professional landscaping should maintain perfect symmetry from the moment it is installed. When the landscaper offered to check the plants again, she demanded immediate replacement of several shrubs because they now appeared philosophically uneven. She warned that if the company refused, she would post reviews describing their landscaping as visually unreliable. 31. A demanding homeowner in California called an internet provider because her streaming service buffered twice during a movie night with friends. The technician tested the connection and confirmed the network was operating normally. He explained that temporary buffering can happen due to streaming server load. She dismissed that explanation immediately. She said she hosted guests, and the interruption embarrassed her socially. The technician calmly suggested restarting the router and checking background device usage. She accused him of minimizing the seriousness of the situation. Then she began recording the call on speakerphone while announcing that she was documenting how internet companies dismiss customer humiliation. She demanded a service credit because the buffering occurred in front of guests. According to her reasoning, the company should compensate her for reputational damage caused by digital hesitation. 32. A perfection-driven homeowner in New Jersey called a plumber to adjust the water pressure in her shower. The plumber installed a regulator that balanced the pressure safely. When she tested the shower, she said the water now felt slightly more determined than before. The plumber explained that the pressure was now set to a normal range recommended for plumbing systems. She frowned and said she preferred the previous uncertainty because it created a more relaxing experience. When he explained that unstable pressure can damage pipes, she accused the company of prioritizing mechanical rules over customer comfort. She demanded the regulator be removed and threatened to contact corporate if they refused. Apparently, stable plumbing had become an unacceptable lifestyle choice. 33. A highly opinionated homeowner in Oregon hired a pest control technician after hearing scratching sounds in the walls. The technician discovered a small mouse and set humane traps to remove it safely. She watched the process with visible concern. Then she said the traps felt confrontational. The technician explained that the traps would capture the mouse without harm and allow relocation. She shook her head and said the mouse had likely formed an emotional attachment to the wall space. When he repeated that wildlife should not live inside homes, she accused the company of lacking compassion. She demanded the technician instead leave food near the exterior of the house so the mouse would voluntarily explore new opportunities. When he refused, she warned that she would write reviews exposing companies that treat wall residents like intruders. 34. A suburban homeowner in Florida hired an appliance technician to repair her dishwasher after it stopped draining. The technician cleared a blocked filter and restored normal operation. The dishwasher ran quietly and efficiently. Instead of being relieved, she stared at the machine with concern. She said the dishwasher now completed cycles faster than before. The technician explained that the clog had previously slowed the pump. She narrowed her eyes and said the shorter cycle felt rushed. According to her, dishes need time to emotionally settle during washing. When he explained that modern dishwashers are designed for efficiency, she accused the company of installing repairs that encourage impatient cleaning. She demanded a partial refund for altering the natural rhythm of her kitchen. Apparently, even dishwashers were expected to respect household pacing. 35. A sharply dressed homeowner in California scheduled an electrician to replace a faulty breaker in her garage panel. The electrician diagnosed the problem quickly and installed a new breaker that restored stable power to the entire circuit. Everything worked normally again. Instead of thanking him, she stared at the panel and said the repair felt suspiciously simple. The electrician calmly explained that electrical issues often appear complicated but can be solved quickly by experienced technicians. She immediately accused him of exaggerating the original problem to justify the service call fee. He showed her the damaged breaker and explained why it had to be replaced. She responded by filming him while narrating a video about predatory electrician tactics. She demanded a full refund because the repair took less than 20 minutes. When the company refused, she announced that she would file complaints with consumer protection agencies and demand that the technician lose his license for what she called deceptively efficient electrical work. 36. A suburban homeowner in Arizona hired a plumbing company to replace a leaking toilet valve. The plumber installed the new valve and confirmed the toilet flushed normally without leaks. She flushed it once and frowned. She claimed the flushing sound now felt more assertive than before. The plumber explained that the new valve allows proper water pressure, which creates a cleaner flush. She folded her arms and said the sound startled her cat. He politely suggested closing the bathroom door during flushes if the cat was sensitive to noise. She immediately accused him of dismissing the needs of her household. She began recording the conversation on her phone and announced that the company had ignored animal welfare concerns. She demanded compensation for emotional distress caused to her pet and threatened to report the business to local authorities for what she described as aggressive plumbing behavior. 37. A determined homeowner in New York called a moving company 2 days after they relocated furniture into her newly renovated apartment. The crew had carried several large bookcases upstairs without damage. She now insisted one of the bookcases looked more confident in the new space and disrupted the visual balance of the room. The company dispatcher patiently explained that movers place furniture according to customer instructions. She rejected that explanation and demanded the entire moving crew return immediately to reposition the shelf until it looked less dominant. When the dispatcher explained that additional service would require a new booking, she threatened legal action for what she called negligent placement. She also warned that she would post a detailed review naming every employee involved. Apparently, the bookcase had developed an unacceptable level of confidence during transportation. 38. A frustrated homeowner in Florida called a pest control technician after seeing a cockroach in her laundry room. The technician inspected the house and explained that occasional insects can enter during humid weather. He recommended a standard treatment plan. She stared at him with visible outrage. She said she had lived in the home for 3 years and had never seen a cockroach before. In her mind, this clearly meant the pest control company had failed in advance. The technician calmly explained that he had never serviced the house before this visit. She ignored that detail and demanded written proof that no future cockroach would ever appear. When he explained that pest control cannot guarantee absolute elimination of insects in a warm climate, she called the police non-emergency line to report what she described as fraudulent pest management services. Apparently, the entire insect population was now part of a legal dispute. 39. A highly organized homeowner in Illinois hired a handyman to install floating shelves in her living room. The handyman measured carefully and mounted each shelf level against the wall. She inspected them with a small level tool of her own and agreed they were technically straight. Then she said they felt emotionally uneven. The handyman blinked and asked what that meant. She said the shelves created an energy imbalance because the left side of the room now felt slightly more ambitious than the right. He calmly explained that shelves do not possess ambition, and the installation matched her requested measurements exactly. She began recording him and declared that the company refused to acknowledge design responsibility. She demanded the handyman remove the shelves and reinstall them in a way that felt more neutral. When he declined to redo the entire job for free, she threatened to file complaints with the contractor licensing board for what she called aesthetic negligence. 40. A wealthy homeowner in Texas scheduled a cable technician to reconnect television service after remodeling her living room. The technician ran the line cleanly through the wall and confirmed the signal was perfect. She stared at the mounted television and said the installation looked too ordinary. The technician explained that concealed wiring creates a clean appearance. She insisted the cable should remain partially visible so guests could admire the professional work. When he said the installation followed standard procedure, she began filming him and demanding the company send a supervisor immediately. She claimed the technician had ignored her right as a paying customer to choose visible craftsmanship. She also threatened to call corporate headquarters and insist the technician be fired for hiding evidence of labor. 41. A dramatic homeowner in Oregon called an appliance repair technician after her dishwasher stopped mid-cycle. The technician cleared a clogged drain filter and the machine resumed normal operation. She watched the dishwasher run quietly and then said the repair made her uncomfortable. The technician asked why. She said the dishwasher now sounded too calm and she worried it might stop again without warning. He explained that quieter operation means the pump is working properly. She rejected that answer and insisted the machine had become unpredictable. When he refused to intentionally loosen the filter again, she demanded a written statement guaranteeing the dishwasher would never pause unexpectedly. She threatened to contact the state consumer protection office and file a formal complaint about emotionally unreliable appliances. 42. A proud homeowner in Georgia hired landscapers to trim a row of tall hedges along her driveway. The crew trimmed them evenly and cleaned the yard completely. She walked outside and stared at the hedges for several minutes. Then she announced that the hedges looked less prestigious than before. The crew leader explained that trimming encourages healthy growth and prevents branches from blocking the driveway. She said that explanation ignored the real issue. The hedges previously made the house appear mysterious from the road. Now the property looked accessible. When the crew refused to grow the hedges back instantly, she threatened to report the company to the Homeowners Association for landscaping that damaged neighborhood mystique. 43. A status-conscious homeowner in Nevada called an internet technician after her connection dropped for several minutes during a live video meeting. The technician confirmed the outage was caused by a temporary service interruption in the area. She responded by saying that explanation was unacceptable because she was hosting a professional webinar. He apologized and explained that outages occasionally occur due to network maintenance. She began recording him and declared that internet companies discriminate against customers who run businesses from home. When he suggested installing backup connectivity if reliability was critical, she accused him of victim blaming and demanded a full year of free service for what she called career sabotage. 44. A very serious homeowner in Michigan hired a plumber to install a new kitchen faucet. The plumber completed the installation and demonstrated smooth water flow. She turned the handle and said the faucet rotated too easily. He explained that modern faucets are designed to move smoothly for convenience. She insisted the motion felt careless and might encourage irresponsible water usage. When he said the faucet met standard design specifications, she began threatening legal action for installing a product that promotes what she described as reckless hydration. She demanded the plumber reinstall her old faucet immediately and refund the labor because the new one moved with what she called dangerous enthusiasm. 45. A tense homeowner in Pennsylvania called a pest control company after hearing scratching sounds in the attic. The technician found a raccoon and explained he would safely remove it and seal the entry point. She objected immediately. She said the raccoon might have emotional attachments to the attic environment. The technician calmly explained that wildlife cannot safely live inside residential structures. She accused him of planning forced displacement and began live streaming the situation to her followers. She demanded that the raccoon be allowed to remain until it voluntarily relocated. When the technician refused, she threatened to report the company for animal discrimination and environmental cruelty. 46. A perfectionist homeowner in Washington hired movers to reposition a grand piano inside her house. The crew carefully moved the instrument and placed it exactly where she directed. She walked around the piano and said the room now felt less harmonious. The crew leader explained that the piano was positioned according to her measurements and the floor was level. She insisted the movers should have warned her that the instrument might appear emotionally dominant in the space. When the company declined to move it repeatedly without additional payment, she threatened to sue for property misrepresentation and demanded that the movers remain on site until the piano looked less confident. 47. A furious homeowner in Florida called an electrician because her porch motion light turned on when a neighbor walked past the sidewalk. The electrician explained that the sensor detects movement within a certain range for safety. She said the neighbor triggering the light felt like a violation of her privacy. He calmly explained that the sensor was designed to activate when motion occurs near the property. She rejected that explanation and called the police, claiming the electrician had installed surveillance lighting that exposed her home to unnecessary visibility. When officers arrived and confirmed the light worked normally, she demanded the electrician remove it immediately and compensate her for what she described as emotional exposure. 48. A wealthy homeowner in California hired a plumbing company to fix a minor leak under the sink. The plumber tightened a connector, and the leak stopped instantly. She stared at the dry pipe and accused him of performing a cosmetic repair instead of a serious one. He explained that the leak was caused by a loose fitting and tightening it solved the issue. She began shouting that real plumbing work should involve replacing multiple components. When he refused to fabricate additional repairs, she threatened to sue the company for deceptive service and demanded the technician remain in the house while she called corporate to demand his termination. 49. A highly dramatic homeowner in Texas called an appliance repair technician because her washing machine vibrated slightly during the spin cycle. The technician leveled the machine and the vibration stopped. Instead of being satisfied, she claimed the quiet spin cycle made her suspicious that the machine had stopped cleaning properly. He explained that the vibration was caused by uneven footing and the repair improved performance. She began live streaming the conversation while accusing the technician of tampering with the washing machine's cleaning power. She demanded a written certification proving that her clothes would still feel freshly washed, or she would pursue legal action for what she called laundry negligence. 50. A furious suburban homeowner in New Jersey called a landscaping company 2 days after they trimmed several trees along her property line. The trees looked neat and healthy. She claimed the trimming made her yard look less mysterious from the street. The landscaper explained that trimming prevents branches from damaging power lines and improves tree health. She rejected that explanation and insisted the company had removed an important privacy feature. She threatened to file complaints with the city planning department and demanded the landscapers return immediately to restore the previous sense of secrecy. Apparently, the branches had been protecting her from public visibility. 51. A deeply offended homeowner in Colorado hired an electrician to replace several burned-out light switches. The electrician installed modern switches and confirmed everything worked perfectly. She flipped one switch and immediately frowned. She said the clicking sound felt too decisive. The electrician explained that the switches were standard models used in most homes. She raised her voice and accused him of installing switches with an aggressive tone that disrupted the calm atmosphere of the house. When he refused to replace them again for free, she began calling multiple company offices while demanding the technician be fired. She also threatened to contact the state licensing board and report what she described as hostile switch mechanics. Apparently, even a simple click had crossed a legal boundary. And that's today's masterclass in confident nonsense. If you've met a Karen like these, drop it in the comments, subscribe, and brace yourself for the next meltdown.